This week, we're going to talk about managing stress. What's good stress? What's bad stress? So, stress is not the enemy, it's the dosage that matters. So, without stress, we don't grow, but too much for too long can break you down. So, stress is your body's response to challenge. It's what gets you kind of out of the bed in the morning, and it also helps you with your deadlines at work and pushes you to lift heavier weights, which we're trying to do in training. That's what we call good stress. And that's really good for learning a new skill. It's really good for weightlifting or fitness. It's really good for a new job. The problem is when you have what's called chronic stress, when your body never gets a break, when you never take a day off, when you're constantly keeping your cortisol levels nice and high, you get poor sleep. You have constant fatigue, inflammation, irritability, and you're going to be very slow to recover from your workouts, which then all of a sudden will then tank you. And this is one of the biggest problems we see. So if last week we talked about sleep, this week we talk about stress, because together, those are the ways we combat them. When we have poor sleep, we usually are going to have higher stress because we're going to rely more on cortisol and we're going to rely less on what we've actually naturally repaired and built to go handle more stress without having to tap into our cortisol. So how do we manage this? This is the toughest one because one of the biggest problems people come up with is they tend to say, I'm not that stressed. And even if I am stressed, what are the real tangible, practical things I can do to make sure that I can handle this or control it? So here are four that I like to recommend. Breathing exercises. These are really undervalued and highly effective. They did a study with, I don't remember how many, but there were at least 100 Marines that came back from Afghanistan when we were over there in war. And they taught them all breathing techniques with diaphragmatic breathing. 5 seconds in, hold for 5 seconds, 5 seconds out, hold for 5 seconds, and repeat. Those who did it, 70% of them did not have any PTSD when they came back. So there is a sense of controlling our breath has a huge impact on how we handle stress and can even help soldiers who are in the highest stress of survive, right? Combat PTSD. So if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for us civilians. Number two, movement. Gentle movement, walking, stretching, light activities. This is why we've put zone 2 into a lot of your training, is that it allows you to have the healthy stress hormones response in a good dosage, and it allows you to actually push blood, move parts of your body around to get the endorphins kicking, get all the benefits without making it so intense you have to do more recovery. More intense, more recovery, right? Dosing those things well is what creates good progress. Number two is going to be boundaries. Turn off notifications. Make sure you're not always available. It's really tough. I have a remote job as a coach. This is constantly a boundary I'm going to have to push to keep myself and my standard of having health in my own life effective. So I get the pain. It is a lot. It's an interesting time period in human history, but we constantly have to be having boundaries with who has access to us. And then the last one, I would say number four, is a perspective shift. This is a little bit more subjective, but how do you view stress? How can you view stress as a signal, not just as a problem? How can you take stress and think about it in a positive way through journaling? Tell yourself how to adjust to the needs that you need in that moment. How do you handle those things, right? So practically, I would say journaling's the best one I know for this. Gratitude, trying to change your perspective that you're not a fixed problem, but you're a growing human being that's trying to continue to get better, while we all know that we'll never fully arrive. That is the part of being human that is both amazing gift and also extremely frustrating at times. So perspective, though, changes from, is it frustrating or is it a gift? All right, here's your challenge and your takeaways. Challenge number one this week, I want you to identify your top 3 stress triggers this week. Just write them down for yourself. You don't have to share them with me if you don't want to. Challenge number 2, schedule at least one 10-minute stress reset each day. That means when you're feeling high stress in a particular part of your day, you give yourself either time to go do some deep breaths, or you go for a 5-minute walk, or you go and do some light stretching maybe in your office, or if you work from home like I do, you can go into your bedroom or living room and do some stretching or breathing. Number 3, Write down one stressful situation and reframe it. In other words, ask, how could this be helpful for me to grow? How is this an actual opportunity versus something that is actually scaring me or causing anxiety? Having that flip in that mindset for yourself. So, hope you enjoy this. Remember, stress management is one of the keys to being able to stay in the fitness game and continue to working out, because you're managing those stresses and you're also teaching your brain to associate differently with those stresses.